All right, good evening, everyone. Our final night of Natural Remedies seminar. And we've come through 4 pretty intense stuff, but it's I think they're basic enough that, people are understanding the whole principle and everything behind it. And so we're kind of excited to present this last one to you because it's kind of a combination of several that we've been through. And I think you'll be excited as well. So before we start, let's start with a word of prayer, just asking God's blessing upon our meeting, and then we'll get right into it. Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to thank you so much for your promised blessing here tonight. We pray that you'd be present here through the power of the Holy Spirit. May we learn much, Lord, so that we can apply these good things to our lives. Not only that, Lord, so that we can possibly help others that are in need of assistance. So just bless our time together. Thank you so much for hearing and answering our prayer. Amen. All right, Sharon, you can come on forward and present our last night.
Well, good evening. It's good to see you tonight. It's good to have you that are here in the auditorium and those that are on live stream as well. Just want to bring your attention to, you probably got a number of different things as you came in tonight. I'll be referring to the colored ones later. But just want to mention the blue half sheet. If you could fill this out and turn this in, this gives us an idea what other kinds of programs you're interested in. And just be prepared to turn that survey in at the end. Give us feedback as far as what you'd like to see us plan for future events. We want to know how we can meet needs, and that will help us in our planning. So I hope that as you came in that you filled out your registration slips for the drawing. I've got 2 of our small resources and then 2 larger resources that we're going to be giving away tonight. So make sure that you get your name in for those drawings, and if you're listening to us on live stream, go ahead and text your contact information, your name and contact information to us, and we will get you entered in for those resources as well. If we draw your name, we will make sure we get those resources to you. So text us to the number that's on the screen, and we will get you entered as well. So one more time for the medical disclaimer. Do you have it memorized yet? Just reminding you that this seminar is a lifestyle education. It's not specific medical advice regarding your condition. It's not a substitute for appropriate medical care. And we encourage you to seek appropriate medical care when necessary, not to take on more than you can medically manage, and don't try to treat a patient whose medical condition is beyond your skill. Okay, what we're going to be doing tonight, boy, this looks like a more intense setup than we've had on previous nights, doesn't it? Okay, and this is a full body treatment. Before we were picking a part of the body and treating a specific part of the body. This is going to be a whole body treatment. Really powerful stuff, and it benefits a lot of people. Primarily what we would use this for is for respiratory illness in the home. That's probably mostly what you're going to find that you're going to use something like this for. But watch for those signs that they are beyond your capabilities to manage medically and get care when you do need it. So I wanted to share with you some of the comments and questions that I got from previous sessions after the fact. Oftentimes when people ask me a question afterwards, I think there's probably other people that had that same question as well. So I got a comment from one of our live stream viewers that told me that I sure know how to ruin a good hot shower. Yeah, I see some agreement here, okay? So, and then another question that I got asked was that some of the water treatments that I showed, I said that they were for different things, like you could use the heating compress for the same thing that you could use a hot bath for, that you could use the same thing as a contrast bath for, and she asked, how do I know which one to use? And so my answer to that question is, it's really going to vary individual to individual. Some people find it easy to set up to do a hot foot bath. Other people say, I don't have time for that. I got to do the heating compress to my feet while I'm in bed because I don't have time. So it really depends on what seems more manageable to you. I showed you a lot of different things. There is some overlap in what they're good for, and so I encourage you to try and use the ones that seem more manageable to you. I don't really like cold, so I'm not going to do a lot of things that involve putting a lot of cold on a lot of me, okay? That end of the shower, I can tolerate that, but beyond that, so the heating compress, for example, the chest heating compress, putting that cold shirt on, that just is not my style. I just much rather try some other things first. So try whatever seems manageable and most comfortable to you first, okay? If that doesn't work, then try some of the others. So I think that that's a pretty good answer to that question. If you have further questions about that, see me and I can help you out with that. All right, so we've been talking about our New Start acronym. These are our 8 laws of health, or our 8 gifts that God provided at the time of creation for our health and happiness. Have you seen as we've gone through them that these are all things that are built into the creation story? Go back to the book of Genesis. They're right there in the creation story. And these are the principles that help prevent disease, and they're also necessary components if we're going to heal from disease or injury. So can you name them? Anyone remember what the N is? Nutrition. And if I don't double hit the button, they'll only come up one at a time. And we found out that we're designed to eat primarily a plant-based diet. What's the E? Exercise. We're designed to move, to be active. That was built right into Adam and Eve's instructions in the Garden of Eden. And what's the W? Water. And we've been talking a lot about water. We found how important water is on the inside, and then we've spent several evenings talking about how we can use water beneficially on the outside as well. Water's really a marvelous gift provided for our health and healing and our enjoyment right at the time of creation. And what's the S? Sunlight. Somebody remembers these? Okay, we've found out that we're designed to be exposed to that bright light during the day and darkness at night. And the sun has so many benefits for our health and our well-being. What about the T? Okay, temperance. And sometimes people ask me that temperance, that word that has to do with self-control and balance and moderation. How did that come out of the creation story? When you think about it, every one of God's gifts from creation have moderation naturally built into them. When we're looking at food, when you're eating food as grown, it has lots of fiber in it. When you've eaten enough, you feel full. Okay? Exercise, when you've had enough exercise, you feel tired. Okay? Water, when you have enough water, your thirst is quenched, okay? So there's indicators, moderation. Sunlight, when you've had enough, well, when you've had too much, you burn, right? So moderation is built into every one of God's gifts, okay? They're designed so that we use them in moderation and in balance. All right, I gave you the next one. A is for air, and specifically fresh air with all its life-giving and health-giving benefits. It's another precious gift from our Creator. And then the R, we covered on Monday evening, is for rest, okay? And we talked about that every part of our body needs rest, and it's mostly our own personal choices that determine whether we get enough rest or not, okay? If we choose if we're going to live according to our design or whether we're going to live contrary to our design. So there's one of the little small tracks that we gave you. I'm not sure if we gave it you the first night or if it's tonight, but there's one of those, these doctors make house calls. That one covers all of these New Start principles in there. I also gave you, I believe it's the kind of goldenrod sheet that has a summary of the New Start principles as well. So you can see there, we're going to cover the last one tonight. But before we do that, remember that these New Start principles are the first line of defense as far as natural remedies. This is where you want to start. You want to include these things in your lifestyle as prevention and definitely include them if you need to heal from disease or injury. Secondary treatments then would be our water treatments and our charcoal treatments. Okay? These are very safe treatments. They have no side effects. They have a few precautions, and we've talked about the precautions, but they don't have side effects. So they're very, very safe. Water and charcoal are secondary. Beyond that, you'd start moving into other more natural remedies like herbal remedies, things that come from plants that you would use as natural remedies. We didn't cover those in this seminar, but those can have side effects, and they can build up and they can be toxic, especially if they're too concentrated. And so that would be the third line of defense. So you see, we start with prevention, okay, and lifestyle issues as treatment. Then we go to charcoal and water, and we go beyond that to things that are a little bit less safe, only if we need to, something beyond that. So, does anyone have anything to share that they've implemented since last time we were together, since Monday evening, whether it's some of the New Start principles that you've been using, or whether you did any of the water or the charcoal treatments? What have you tried? What's that? Oh, the deep breathing. Okay, so I've been doing the deep breathing. Good. Get a shot of oxygen to the brain, give you a little more energy and, yep, clarity of thought. Nice. Okay. Anybody else? Did anyone have any need to use their charcoal poultice yet? Not yet. I know, this time of year, there's no bee stings or, mosquito bites or anything. I guess that's the good news. So it's in your freezer waiting for when you need it, right? Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and cover our last New Start principle tonight, and our T is for trust, and specifically trust in God, trust in our Creator, and really that's what all of these are about. These are things He provided for our health, for our healing, and it's a question of, do we believe that that's really the way He designed us, and that He knew what He was doing? So what we believe in and what we trust does have a significant impact on our health and our recovery from illness and injury. Our relationship with God, with our Creator, is never optional. It's the very root of health. We were designed by our Creator to be in relationships, and specifically a relationship with Him, as well as with other people. So we can never have optimal health or physical or mental health if that relationship is missing. Now, here's a scriptural promise that shows that trusting God actually promotes health and physical well-being. And this is one of my favorite Bible promises. It comes from Proverbs 3, and it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. It will be what? It will be health to your flesh and what? Strength to your bones." Here we see that the Bible promise is that trusting God promotes physical health and physical strength. So trust is a confidence, a reliance, a dependence on something. And trusting God means getting to know God good enough that you'll believe two important things about Him. First of all, you get to know Him well enough that you believe that He is who He says He is. When He says He can heal, when He says He can be trusted, you know Him well enough to know that that's true. And the second thing that you'll know when you get to know God well enough is that you can believe that He will do what He says He will do. If He promised it, He'll do it. Okay? And if you believe these things about God, it will not only change your life, it will revolutionize the way you live your life. When you really trust something, when you really believe in something, it changes the way that you live. And when we trust God, we recognize that He's the healer and that we are then grateful to cooperate with His plan, His design for how we live. So how can our relationship with God improve our physical health, and how does trust lead to physical health and prevent disease? To better understand that, I want to take a little time to look at the stress response in the human body. Okay? So when we experience any thoughts, emotions, or actions that are contrary to our design, the body then produces and releases neurochemicals and stress hormones. Okay? You probably recognize the one that's named adrenaline. That's probably the most common one that people know, but there's a whole cascade of these chemicals that are released. And these chemicals have a very important function. Okay? Their function is to prepare the body and the brain for action. Okay? They're to prepare the body and brain to deal with an emergency. So they prepare the body to either fight the threat or escape the threatening situation. You heard of the fight or flight, right? That's what this is for. Okay? When the body or when the brain perceives danger, when there's any stress, the body perceives it as danger, and then this chemical cascade begins happening to prepare us to deal with the emergency. However, the prolonged release of these chemicals gives prolonged stress to the body, and it damages the body because it maintains the body at high alert for too long, okay? It's prepared for action for too long. And so the prolonged stress on the organs over time weakens the organ systems in the body until finally some part of the body wears out or succumbs to disease or injury. And an individual's health will break down at their weakest or most vulnerable organ system. That's why when my body has too much stress, I probably have different problems than you do, okay? So we will just break down. Some people, it will be emotional and mental. Sometimes it will be physical. It could be muscles or joint pain. It could be your heart. It could be any number of things depending on our individual weakest link. Okay? So every organ of the body is vulnerable to this prolonged effect of stress chemicals. And the stress sometimes comes from circumstances that are beyond our control, but other times the stress is created by choices that we make. Anything that we do, we choose to do that's contrary to the way that God designed us to live causes stress. I'm going to be giving away tonight a book by Dr. Markham, and he tells a story about a woman whose cascade of medical problems started with her job that required her to wear high heels in the office that she worked in. It caused plantar fasciitis, which then caused on and on and on and on. And so again, wearing footwear that was contrary to her design caused stress that then caused a number of organ systems to eventually break down. All right, so what's the solution to this stress? Well, living the way that God designed us to live is the best solution for this stress. Trusting that God knows what He's asking us to do, trusting that God will take care of the circumstances that are beyond my control. And in contrast, failing to trust God results in destructive effects on the body and mind. So we're going to look at an interesting study that demonstrates how having a trusting relationship changes the response to stress. And Mike, I'm going to steal your water from up here. So you might want to either find another water bottle up here that we can use during the demonstration or get a cup of water. Okay, so we're going to look at a study that demonstrates how having a trusting relationship changes the response to stress. So researchers did a series of experiments with lambs to determine the effect of stress. Now this already stresses me, right? They were giving lambs stress. Aw, I feel badly for them. So the stress was delivered to the lamb in the form of an electrical shock. The shock was strong enough to get their attention, but not strong enough to harm them. So the variable in the study was whether the lamb's mother was in the pen or not. So all the lambs jumped and ran the first time the shock was delivered. And the stress hormones produced a fight or flight response. In this case, it was flight. Okay? They tried to run away from the shock. Now the lambs who were without their mothers ran away from the spot where they were shocked, and they never went back to that place in the pen again. Each time they were shocked, they jumped higher and ran faster. The stress response was intensified as it continued. When the lamb finally ran out of safe places in the pen to run to, it just stood quivering and finally laid down in a heap. The scientists described it as being similar to a nervous breakdown. And this is the kind of stress that, the stress response that negatively affects our health, okay? But the other lambs in the study were given the same electrical shock, but their mother was in the pen with them during the experiment. Now, these lambs also jumped and ran the first time that the shock was delivered, okay? The same fight or flight stress response occurred there. But guess where they ran to when they ran? They ran to mom, that's right. They always ran to their mother. Instead of attempting to avoid a stressful or unsafe location, they sought safety in an established, trusting relationship. So in contrast to the motherless lambs, remember they jumped higher and ran faster each time they were shocked? These lambs that were in the pens with their mother jumped less and less each time they were shocked, and they ran slower and less excitedly with each shock. Okay, so the stress response was decreasing instead of intensifying like it did with the other lambs, until finally the shock got no response from them whatsoever. Okay? They just didn't react to it at all. So having a trustful relationship here made a tremendous difference in coping with stress. And the same is true for us. Those who trust God are grateful to live the way that He designed us to live, and they know where they can go when they need reassurance in stressful or difficult circumstances. And those of you who have that relationship with your Creator understand what we're talking about, right? Okay. Just like the lambs, the result is a decrease in the stress response and a decrease in the damaging physical, mental, and emotional effects of prolonged stress, okay? What it actually does is when we can go to a trusted relationship in times of stress, it stops that chemical cascade of stress hormones and neurotransmitters, okay? So that you don't have that constant wearing on the organ systems. So trusting God is the very best antidote for our negative thoughts, emotions, any kind of stressful circumstances. Now, scientific research has long understood that there are mental, emotional, and physical benefits for people of faith. Okay, they found that people of faith are happier. Okay, they are better at coping with stress. They have less depression and anxiety. They have better well-being. They're more optimistic and report greater life satisfaction. So when we're in a trusting relationship with God, we have more joy, more satisfaction and peace, and we're better able to handle the stressors of life. Without that relationship, there's a higher level of fear, uncertainty, discontentment, and emptiness. And have you noticed that in our society, many are in a search for peace, joy, hope, meaning, purpose, okay? And as Christians, we know where we can find that. They've also found, researchers have also found that people of faith are not only happier, they're also healthier. They have improved immune function. They have less heart disease, cancer, and hypertension. They heal faster from surgery with fewer complications. They have less physiological reactions to stress, and they tend to live healthier lifestyles. Okay, so they have less use of tobacco, alcohol, and drugs. And researchers have also found that people of faith have a longer life expectancy on the whole. And the greatest benefit, I think, to being a person of faith, a Christian, is eternal life. You can't get any healthier than that, and you can't live any longer than that, right? Oh. All right, so we're going to look at some practical ways to implement this New Start principle into our lifestyle, this trusting God. some practical ways to increase your trust in God, some practical ways that you can use trust as your primary stress management technique. So I want you to think about the times when you have stress, whatever kind of stress it is, and think about which of these that we're going to put up on the screen you can implement during that time, okay? First two are prayer and Bible study. Before you can trust anyone, God or another human, you really have to get to know them, right? You don't trust somebody that you don't know. And prayer and Bible study are our primary means for getting to know God and communicating with God. Okay? The Bible is also a source of promises that you can rely on. When you get to trust God, you trust His promises. And so they become a real comfort to you. Memorizing some of these promises that you can use when you're in stressful circumstances is very helpful. And if this is an area of prayer and Bible study that you're not sure how to implement, or you could use some encouragement or someone to come alongside you in this area, we want to be available to you to help you with that. You can see me about that. We'd love to spend some time encouraging you in this area. You can see my husband. You can put it on the survey on the blue sheet. If you are watching us by live stream, you can text it to the number, and I'll have the guys, if you can, stick that number back up on the screen again. If you're interested in someone to help you know how to use prayer and Bible study for stress relief, let one of us know, and we will talk with you about how we could help you out with that. Okay, another way that you can increase your trust in God and use that as your stress management is to count your blessings. Choose to think about the ways that God has blessed you in the past and the present, and allow yourself to be content and joyful because of these things. Okay, the next one is to express gratitude. There's a lot of physiological benefit to being grateful. We can express our gratitude to God and others. And gratitude, like I said, is a key aspect of a healthy mind and body. We are designed to live being grateful. So this is timely, seeing how Thanksgiving is next week, right? So we can practice our gratitude. Okay, another stress management technique that builds trust in God is singing. Okay, sing hymns and praise songs that are going to remind you of God's faithfulness. And not only does it remind you of God's faithfulness, but singing releases endorphins, which are those positive feel-good hormones, which will help you to feel better. Okay? Another way is to spend time in nature. Spending time in nature reminds us that the God who made everything out there is still in control, and I want to encourage you that He really is. In addition, the fresh air, sunlight, and the sights and smells outdoors are going to be soothing and restorative for you as well. And finally, find a way to be a blessing to others. When we do that, we're just passing along the blessing that God gave us to someone else. When we do something nice or helpful for someone else, it becomes a blessing to us. And benevolence and volunteerism have been found consistently to be associated with increased health and longer life. Have you ever wondered why those volunteers at the hospital are always old ladies? It's because they live a long time when they're a blessing to others, right? And so science has shown that, and we see that those who stay active in blessing others live longer and are healthier than those who just focus on themselves. So this relationship with God, this place of trust, is a place that you can go in times of stress, just like those lambs that went to their mothers. And I think that that's really a word picture that you can use in your own mind when you're stressed. Think about, okay, like the lamb running to the mother, I'm going to run to Jesus, okay? And I'm going to find my safety in Him. And that will reduce your physiological and psychological stress. It's going to allow you to peacefully cope while avoiding those effects of that ongoing stress chemicals, okay? It's going to calm down that chemical cascade. So tonight I want to encourage you with one more promise, challenge that's presented in Psalms 34, where it says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts in Him." When you trust in God, it really is a blessing. And God says, come taste, try it out, give it a go, and see if you don't find that it is a blessing to you. So I encourage you to take this challenge to experience God, discover His goodness, discover that He can be trusted, and that He will keep His promises to you. And He says that blessing will result. I want to experience those blessings, and I invite each one of you tonight to taste and experience them too. So that's the last of our New Start principles, the trust in God. I should have put a summary slide up there, put the New Start back up there again, but I didn't. So you have your paper that it's on. All right, so we're going to move into our last treatment, water treatment that we're going to show you. And I call this presentation Supercharging the Immune System, because this is the Cadillac of these water treatments, okay? We call it fomentations. They're more complex than the previous water treatments that were demonstrated, and I explained earlier that's because it's a whole system treatment instead of just a localized treatment. But this treatment is still based on the same principles that we covered earlier in the seminar. It uses the power of alternating hot and cold to maximize the function of body systems and to stimulate the body to heal. I'm going to review here our primary causes of disease, because tonight's treatment is going to address all three of these primary causes of disease, okay? So one of the primary causes of disease is interrupted or impaired circulation. Tonight's treatment is going to significantly increase circulation throughout the body. The second cause of disease is a compromised immune function. We're going to be using quite a bit of hot and cold back and forth, and that stimulates immune function. All right? And the third primary cause of disease is toxicity, and tonight's treatment stimulates perspiration, okay? Stimulates all the body organs to function at peak capacity. So not only is the skin helping to release some of the toxicity, but the liver and the kidneys will also be functioning, the lungs, all of those organs that detoxify the body are stimulated. All right? So I'm going to just quickly review. You've seen this slide before, but these are the benefits of the alternating hot and cold water. Okay? You get the benefits of both without the disadvantages of either. It increases metabolism, circulation, oxidation of toxins, enzyme action, and nerve tone. So it really stimulates the body system so that the body will heal itself. It increases the red blood cells in circulation. Those are the oxygen-carrying cells by 20 to 35%. So we have more oxygen going to all parts of the body. Oxygen, we talked about, is absolutely necessary for the health of every tissue, every cell in the body. And it increases the white blood cells in circulation by 200 to 300%. That's why we say for home use, this is a very, very powerful treatment for any kind of respiratory illness. Okay? And that's what, in our home, that's what we end up using it mostly for, is for some kind of respiratory illness, whether it's sinuses, whether it's bronchitis, whether it's a cold, a flu, whether it's pneumonia, whatever it is, whether it's COVID. This would be a good treatment for any kind of respiratory illness. Okay? All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about setting up. When I set up my table here at home when I'm going to treat one of my family members, I try not to do it in front of a large audience like this and underneath glaring lights, okay? So we try and set it up in a place that's quiet, dim lighting, a relaxing place. I'll usually turn on some nice soft instrumental music, okay? I want it to be a positive, relaxing experience because then the body's not on high alert, right? So this is not going to be a relaxing experience up here for our demo tonight, but at home you want to do that. You want to protect your furniture, your treatment area from water, because there is water involved in this treatment. And so I will use this table at home because it's easier than a bed. But most people don't have this, so I would recommend putting underneath your sheet, you can put like a shower curtain, a sheet of plastic, if you have a waterproof mattress pad or mattress cover, but you're going to want to protect your bedding from water. I even here, because down in the foot bath area, splashing tends to occur. So I have a waterproof pad here that I have underneath that, and you can certainly do that, like the kind of waterproof pads that they use in healthcare, or a crib pad, anything like that works to help protect your bedding. For pillows, I just have the zippered waterproof pillow cover that I put on a pillow, okay, because there will be water there as well. We're going to have water and steam everywhere tonight. Speaking of water and steam, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my steam pack here. Get that preheated. All right, while you're doing this treatment, you want to be near your patient, okay? I use a microwave to heat my steam packs, and so I will usually set my table up somewhere. I'll either move a microwave near to where I'm going to treat my patient, or else I will put the bed in a room right off the kitchen so that I can be close by. The biggest danger with this treatment for most people is that you're going to burn them with the steam packs. So you want to be close by, so if they get a hot spot or whatever, that you can be right there and get it off of them and put more padding between there to prevent skin burns, okay? So stay near your patient, position them comfortably, and you want to avoid chilling. That's an important thing, because especially afterwards, they're going to be damp from perspiration and also from the water from the treatment. So you want to make sure that they dry off completely, change into dry clothes, don't walk across a cold floor with their bare feet, okay? You don't want chilling, because that changes the physiological response from the treatment, okay? And the last thing up there is inviting the great physician's participation. When we do this in our family, or if I do it with somebody outside of the family who's ill, I always pray with them at the beginning of the treatment. God gave us these gifts, the gift of water. I'm just using his stuff, so I'm going to ask him to do the healing, because it's not me that's going to do it. It's him, okay? All right, so let's talk about fomentations. We're going to switch to your handout if you want to follow along in your handout. So fomentations really refer to wet, hot cloths, okay? I call them steam packs. We're going to heat them up enough that there's steam coming off of them, and the steam is going to heat up the body parts, okay? So that's what a fomentation is. And this is actually what we're going to be doing here, is fomentations with revulsives. And the revulsive is just that quick cold application. So we're going to put on steam packs to heat up the body parts, and then we're going to do brief cold in between them. Sounds familiar, right? It's what we've kind of been doing with some of the other treatments. It is designed to warm up the body, okay? So we expect it's going to warm up the body. And so we are going to be prepared to put cold on the head, neck, face, okay? We want to keep the head cool. It's okay to heat up the body. In fact, it's helpful to heat up the body when we're sick, okay? Because when we heat up the body, it mobilizes the white blood cells, okay? You ever wondered why you get a fever when you're sick? You get a fever because that's the body's way of fighting an infection, okay? When the temperature goes up, it mobilizes the immune system. So there's a purpose to the fever. So when we're treating someone, it's okay to get their body temperature up some, but we never want to increase the temperature in the brain. Okay? Hot heads aren't good. Hot bodies are good for fighting illness. Hot heads are not good. So we're always going to protect the brain and keep the head cool. Okay? So treatment effects, you've got them listed in your handout there. First one is to increase the body temperature. Because remember, we talked about how that life systems, remember the lizard moves fast when it's hot, slow when it's cold. All of your body systems are going to be more active when the body temperature is up. Okay? It's going to increase the white blood cells. It's going to relieve internal congestion because it's moving some of the blood flow to the skin and away from the congested internal organs. It's going to eliminate waste by perspiration. It's going to increase the function of all the internal organs, and it's going to relax muscles, tension and spasms, and will decrease pain. All right, and the treatment indications, these are the things that we would use this treatment for. I told you you're probably primarily going to be using it at home for respiratory illnesses, those chest congestions, colds, flu, bronchitis, asthma. Okay, it's also helpful for infections. It can be used for diseases of the internal organs, pancreatitis, kidney infections, those kind of things. Something as serious as a kidney infection, you'd want to do it in conjunction with medical care as well. It can also be used for painful muscles, joints, fibromyalgia, those kind of things. And one that I just recently learned, apparently this is helpful in cases of sickle cell anemia because it increases the red blood cells in the circulation. Okay? All right, so our treatment precautions, and you do want to be careful here. There are some times when you don't want to use this. If someone has any sensation loss, any numbness, you want to be careful that you don't burn them. Okay? With everyone, you want to make sure that you have enough padding that you're not going to burn them. And the people that are at higher risk for burns are children, who aren't going to tell you as quickly, the elderly, whose sensation is not as good, and they're going to have a slower response time, bony, really thin, bony people who have a lot of bony prominences. They don't have as much tissue over top of their bones. They burn more easily. So those kind of people you just want to watch out for. So thin people, children, and the elderly. You don't want to use this treatment with anyone who's unconscious or paralyzed. You don't want to use the cold portion of it with someone with Raynaud's disease, pleurisy, kidney stones, or painful menstruation. And these are all listed in your handout for you. Diabetes, you want to make sure that you don't apply heat to the legs or feet above what? 102. You guys are good. You know, you're 102. So keep your thermometer handy if you're treating someone with diabetes, and don't exceed 102 on the feet and the legs. Okay? If you're treating someone that has high blood pressure, avoid those extreme temperatures. Okay? So don't make it really, really hot and really cold. Make it warm and cool instead. For those, there's some people that you should have medical advice before you use it with, those with edema, impaired circulation, cardiac conditions. You want to avoid treating it over any area where there's bleeding or a tendency to hemorrhage, and why would that be? You're increasing the blood flow. So if they're already bleeding or hemorrhaging or have a tendency to that in a certain area, you certainly don't want to increase the bleeding there. Okay, you don't want to treat it directly over cancer or malignant tumors or open wounds. The reason for not treating directly over areas of cancer is because it increases the blood flow significantly, and it can lead to spreading the cancer to other areas of the body. Okay? This is not a treatment that you would use with someone with lymphedema, varicose veins, advanced vascular disease of the legs and feet. All right? And if your patient already has a fever to begin with, you want to be careful because you're going to increase their temperature some more. So if they already have a fever, then just monitor their fever, or monitor their temperature rather, during the treatment to make sure that it's not getting too high. Okay? So try not to, don't get them above 102 degrees body temperature unless there's a healthcare professional there who can monitor their vital signs and their status and make sure they're okay. With a medical caregiver, we do get people's temperatures up above 102, okay? We can do it safely as we monitor them. But if you're monitoring their temperature, make sure you use an oral thermometer, okay? We're putting ice and heat all over outside the body, so nothing on the outside skin is really going to be an accurate reflection of the internal body temperature. It needs to be an oral temperature, all right? All right, I'm moving on to page 2 on your handout. We're going to talk about things that you can use for fomentation pads and covers, okay? So the steam packs, and then what we're going to wrap the steam packs in. All right, the simplest thing in your home that you can use for the fomentation pads are smaller size bath towels, okay? So something along this size here. And what I would do with a towel like this is I would leave it folded here. I would roll it up. Okay, I would run water through this under the faucet, get this completely soaking wet, and then twist it out to wring it out so it's not dripping, and then it's ready for heating. Okay? So that's one thing that most people have in the house that they can use for fomentation or the steam pack. You can also, in a healthcare setting, we would use a hydrocollator pack. If you've ever been to physical therapy and they bring the hot packs out, you know, they keep them in a tank with hot water. Those can be used as well. Those are nice because they hold the heat longer than anything like this. But most of us don't have those at home, okay? So these here are some flannel pads that my mother actually sewed up for me, and they were just from, you know, spare flannel sheets. And I'd use 2 of them together. You could have made them thick, double this, but then it's harder to get them to dry. Okay? They dry better when you clean them and after using them. So I use 2 of these together, and I usually count and see how many layers of flannel this is. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 8 layers of flannel in each one of these. Okay, so I do the same thing with these. I would roll them up, okay, run it underneath the faucet, water through the middle until I get everything completely wet, wring it out, and then that's ready for heating. Okay. So that's for the fomentation pads. For the covers, you can use either pieces of wool or acrylic blanket that are cut, and I have in your handout the size that you want to cut them to. I have never done that because I just don't have blankets I wanted to cut up, and so I just use the larger size bath towels, and I'll show you how to wrap these up in a minute, okay? So I use these for the covers. Now, how to heat these. I have a pack here, one of my flannel ones. This one's already wet, so you can see, and there's a number of different ways we can heat this, okay? The boiling water method, actually for that method, you don't have to get it wet first. With this, we would take our fomentation, we'd have a pot of boiling water, and we'd dump the middle part in, okay, until we got it soaked with the boiling water, then lift it out, twist it, and then it would be ready to go, okay? So you want these hot, steamy hot, okay? I find that one a little harder to do, a little cumbersome. The water gets to the ends, and but it is an option. Okay, another way to do it is the steaming method. So once you have all of your fomentation pads wet that you're going to do, you can put them in a canner with a canning rack, okay, and have the water below the level of the rack, put them on the rack inside the canner, okay, on top of the rack, and then there's a time there, I think it's 20 or 30 minutes for them to get hot enough, okay. At that point in time, you would use tongs then to get them out of the canner. Okay. So that's another option. The one that I use the most is the microwave method. So in my microwaves, I can only fit 3 of these at a time. And so I put 3 of them in the microwave, run it for usually at least 10 minutes to get it started, and then keep the microwave running while you're doing the rest of your treatments, okay, in between, okay? So you may hear the microwave's been running back there, getting the fomentations hot. That's my preferred method, but you can also do it in the oven as well. So you would take these rolled up like this, you put them on a baking tray, a baking sheet. You need to cover them with foil though, because you don't want these to dry out in your oven. Okay, you want them to steam. So you're going to cover them with foil, put them in the oven at 500 degrees for 20 minutes. Okay, and maybe that's why I like the microwave too, is because it's a faster heating than some of the other ones. All right. All right, so let me show you how to wrap the fomentation packs. And I have a helper that's going to be helping me in the back when we do the demonstration. So this is the larger towel that I'm going to use for my fomentation cover. I'm going to get my hot pack out of my microwave or oven or wherever with the tongs, and then I just spread it out on my fomentation cover with the tongs. Then we're going to want to wrap in both sides from the long side, and then in and here, okay? This bottom side only has one layer of toweling between the steam pack. This is the side that's going to go towards my patient, okay? Because I want the steam to escape and go towards the patient. Now I'm going to use additional padding on my patient to avoid burning their skin, but then you see we've got all of these layers on the top here that prevent us from losing the heat out away from the patient, all right? And so when I carry it then, after I make it up and carry it, I just carry it like this so that, again, I'm maintaining, it's going to be hot and steamy on this side. So I'm folding it in and carrying it over to my patient, okay? So that's how you would make up a steam pack, and I wanted to show you that because they're going to come out to us during the demonstration already made up like this. Okay. All right, some other things that I have found helpful. And I just have totes with my stuff in there. So if I have to do a treatment on someone in my family or outside of my family, I've got my tote with all my supplies to be able to do these treatments. Okay, so all of my towels, all of my steam packs, and washcloth mitts here. These are just washcloths that are sewn up into mitts because we're going to be doing rubbing with ice, okay, cold ice water. After the heat, and so this is a nice way to be able to do that. If you don't have those, because you are going to want to be able to use both sides of this, you can do a mitt. Okay, so fold it over, fold it over, fold it down here, and hold it with your thumb. Okay, and you can see that that's just a little harder. And then you'd have to flip it around to do the other side. Okay, so I really, really like my mitts to be able to do that. So when I'm doing the cold friction, I'll cover the area. This side will start getting warmed up. This side's still cold. I'll just flip it over, and I've got a fresh cold side to continue to get my 30 seconds. Okay, and I tell you, I'm not a big fan of cold, so you're going to find out when I do my 30 seconds, it's a pretty skimpy 30 seconds. Okay. I don't always do a full 30 seconds. I'm just not a big fan of cold. I don't like doing it to me. I don't like doing it to somebody else either. Okay? All right, so let me show you the setup here, and then I think we're almost ready to do our demonstration. All right, if you look on page 4, the one with the illustration on it, you'll see there a picture of how we're setting it up here. Okay, so we're going to have a steam pack on the back, and for that I'm using a thermophore pad. I don't think my thermophore pad is warm here. Okay, so a thermophore pad is an electrical steam pack. Okay, it's not the same as a heating pad, so I'm using that. If you don't have a thermophore, you don't have to have a thermophore. You can just put one of those steam packs, lay it down here. It'll just cool off faster. This thermophore will just stay warm longer. And actually, there'll be times he's going to need to have to turn it off if it gets too hot. Yeah, if it's a heating pad that was designed to have some moisture against it, yeah, as long as it was okay. Some of them I know that you can add moisture, and they claim to have that they're using moist, but it's not the amount of steam that comes off of the thermophore. So yes, yeah, you could put it as long as it was safe to have moisture against it, because your steam pack's some of the moisture is going to go that direction. Okay? All right, so we've got that on the back, and we're going to put a hot foot bath down at the feet. All right, so I think we're about ready to get started here. Ready? Yep. Let's just set it down here, and then I can put it up afterwards. All right, so your patient needs to be downed. You need to be able to treat the skin. So they're going to need to be down to underwear or swimwear to be able to do this treatment, okay? Yep, no glasses. Huh? Yep, you can start getting it ready. Yep. Okay, so the thermophore was not on. I think it is now. I think it was loose in the plug is what happened. Here. Okay. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is to get his feet in a hot foot bath. So I'm going to have him go ahead and bend up his knees. Splashing tends to happen down here, so we have our waterproof pad underneath. I hope the temperature's good, because he put it in there himself. Okay, and we're going to want to try and keep this from getting in the foot bath. Sometimes it does, but we try to avoid that. Okay. Usually you want to start with at least 3-ish kind of good layers of towels, okay, between your steam pack and your patient. So I'm going to put this on his chest. And then we're ready for the steam pack. Yep.
They're probably pretty hot. Yeah.
What's that?
They're pretty hot.
Okay, he says they're probably pretty hot. All right, thank you. Yeah, steamy. All right. If I was doing someone who had never had this treatment before, I probably would have started with more towel layers, but he knows what to expect. He's an informed patient, and he can let me know if it gets too hot, and I can add additional. This is going to be a shortened treatment, so I would like him to get as much heat as he can, because otherwise it's just kind of annoying to have me doing cold on him when I don't really get him warmed up very well. All right, then we're going to go ahead and add a blanket over top. Want to keep as much of the heat in as we can. So I'm going to tuck it up around here. Try not to let heat escape unnecessarily. Okay, and then I'm going to pray for him, all right? And I always do this when I do a treatment, okay? All right. Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to thank you for my husband. I want to thank you that he is willing to participate so others can learn how to do these treatments. And Lord, he's not sick. I'm grateful for that, and I thank you for that. But Lord, this is a treatment that has potential to improve immunity and increase body function, and we're so grateful for your simple gifts and the wisdom to use them wisely. And so I just ask that you use this treatment to be a blessing to him and to help maintain his health. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, and this is a treatment that we we have done many, many times in our family. This guy here knows how to do these treatments too. It's not just mom at home that did the treatments. There have been times when the whole family has been sick and we've taken turns, okay? And I'll tell you how the last person got treated in that circumstance. Do we have the timer running in there for 5 minutes? Okay, all right. So when he starts getting warm, okay, either by the time I've got the second pack on, or if he starts sweating before that or starts feeling hot, I want to start getting the cold compresses on his head. So I have a couple washcloths here, my bucket of ice water. Got them ready to put on his head when we need it. It doesn't feel good to put them on your head when you're not hot, but when you're hot, it feels really good. Okay? And we're also going to be keeping the hot foot bath as hot as we can. Okay, so how's the temperature of the foot bath?
It could be hotter.
It can be hotter. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get some hot water and add that. Okay, when I add the water to the hot foot bath, I'm going to want to make sure that I'm not burning him. Okay, this is the same thing as when we were doing the hot foot baths before. So I'm going to put my hand so that the water hits my hand before it hits his feet. Okay. We got a slow faucet there? Okay, yep, I'll take that. That'll be good. Thank you. Sure. All right, so my goal here is to try and move this out of the way so I can get to it without dipping my bedding in the hot water. Okay, so he has already slid, he knows the routine. He's already slid his feet all the way back and all the way to the sides, so they're spread apart as far as they can. I'm going to start adding here, closest to me, furthest from him, and stirring as I add it. And he knows the routine. He'll tell me when it's hot enough. Okay, and the reason we want to keep this as hot as they can tolerate, or if they're diabetic, keep it what temperature? 102 or below, okay, is because we want to heat up the body. So I've got heat going on him in 3 different spots here. On his back, on his feet, and on his chest. Got myself that time. Okay, so it sounds like that's probably good. All right. Can you take like a cup more? Huh? I just want to get rid of it. Doing okay? Okay. Okay, and sounds like it's time for our next pack. Are you getting that ready, Cindy? It's ready. Oh, I'm behind schedule here. Okay. And how much heat were you getting through that steam pack there? It's good? Okay. All right, so we are going to flip back the steam pack. Got my ice cold mitt here. Oop, there's even slivers of ice on there. And we are going to briskly rub and then flip it over to the cold side. Do it again. Somebody's agonizing out there on your behalf. All right, and then we're going to switch the pack. Thank you. Okay, is the back getting warm? Okay,
it's off.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, getting hot?
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Okay, another way that you can check, because sometimes people can't tell, I don't know, am I getting hot, am I getting sweaty? You can always, on the leg, and feel it with your back of your hand and see if they're starting to perspire there as well. As soon as they start perspiring or they start feeling hot, you want to add the cold, okay? I'm going to give him a few more minutes before I start adding the cold. All right, so we're only going to do 3 revulsives, 3 hot colds tonight. That's the minimum. Your handout will tell you 3 to 5. I just find that it takes a little bit longer than 3 to really get someone warmed up well enough. I'm more likely to do 5, and sometimes I might even push it to 6 if someone's pretty sick or if it takes me a while to get them warmed up, okay? So we just, normally if I'm going to do more than 3, I would put my steam packs, roll them back up, those wet ones, and put them back in the microwave to reheat for the next round. But we're only going to do 3 of them tonight. Okay, so do we have questions? Yeah.
So I know at my house, like, I can take things hotter than any of my patients probably would.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if I'm adding water to their feet,
Mm-hmm.
or say they're adding water to my feet, and
Right.
I keep telling them, I want it warmer,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they're saying, I think it's too hot.
As long as it depends on your patient, okay? If your patient is cognitively intact, you'll have to make that judgment judgment. Anyways, if they're cognitively intact and they have good sensation and they don't have any blood vessel problems in their legs, you can go completely by their sensation. If they're young enough, then yep. So yeah, same thing with me. I take hotter water than my husband would, for sure. Yep. Speaking of which, are we ready for hot on the feet?
Probably go again.
Okay. Yep, more hot. All right, so this, interestingly, this is this treatments were used successfully during the Spanish flu pandemic. Okay, and so we've learned a lot of things from the Spanish flu pandemic that I think are applicable to the times that we're living in now. With what we know about COVID right now, I would definitely treat someone in my family who had COVID with this treatment. I think that it requires some precaution as far as masking and those kind of things if I were to treat someone in my family with COVID, just with what we know about it, how it is transmitted. Thank you. All right, so you can see that if I were doing this treatment by myself, I would be running and doing the things that Cindy's doing for me as well. So it can keep you pretty busy because in those 5 minutes in between, you're putting the other steam pack back in the microwave, getting the cover ready for the next steam pack, getting more hot water, adding hot water to the foot bath. So there's plenty to keep you busy while you're doing this. There's not a lot of sitting around and waiting. Is that good? Okay, so you can see that if I keep adding water to this to get this hot, that eventually it's going to be kind of full and I'm going to be in danger of splashing. And I'm actually going to be adding ice water to this at the end. So the reason I keep this little pitcher in with my hydrotherapy equipment for doing these treatments is because this one fits nicely right between the feet. And I can scoop out to take out some of the water too. So as I keep adding, if it starts getting too full, I can take out. Okay, are we at our 5 minutes yet? Almost, okay. All right, so how are we doing as far as your temperature? What's that? Okay. All right, so we've had our 5 minutes again. We're going to go ahead and do the cold. And let me talk about here, if you're treating, doing a woman, you do want to get on the breasts. It is tender if you get over the nipples with that. And so on a woman, I do the breast to the nipple line and then in between the breasts, okay, so that I'm not going right over top of the nipples. This stimulates deep breathing too. Get that cold on there and you go,
Not even bad now.
He says it's not bad now, okay? The first one's the worst because you're not warmed up as much. But at this point in time, you're getting warm enough. Okay. Down. And we're going to switch to the next one. Okay. And this is the last steam pack that we'll put on tonight. This is number 3. And his skin is pretty pink there, okay? We're increasing blood circulation. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and put the cold on his head. Okay, so I usually start with the forehead. Now, everybody has a different preference for where that is on their head, face, or neck. And for most of my family, this is a place to start. It just feels really cold the first time. Okay? It'll feel better after that. But sometimes if you get sweaty or hot enough, sometimes just draping the whole open washcloth across the face actually feels good. You know, I've done this with patients in the lifestyle centers where we've gotten them hot enough that they're like, would you just dab my face with that? Or, you know, so do whatever feels good to keep them feeling cool in the face and the head to keep them comfortable. Okay? So we're increasing body temperature. We've got a lot of heat going on here. So he's actually going to warm this up pretty quickly. So after a couple minutes with this on the head, you can take and flip it over. It'll be cooler on the other side. Okay. Feels great, huh?
Yep.
Okay. And the longer you treat this, the more changes you do with hot and cold. The hotter he's going to get, the better that's going to feel on the head and the face. Okay. All right. More hot water?
Good.
Okay. That's a yes. Thank you. All right. Any other questions about the treatment? Okay, at the end, we're going to finish off with cold in every part that we had heat added. Okay? We could also do, because we've increased the entire body temperature, we actually could do the entire arms and legs with those mittens. Okay? And in that kind of case, I would get 2 mittens. He doesn't have a fever. I'm not going to worry about it. Okay? If they have a fever, I would take it every 7-10 minutes or so. Okay? But yeah, to finish up the entire body with cold, you could then take 2 mittens and do the whole legs, do the arms, with the 2 mittens, okay? Sometimes in the lifestyle center, we would, when we'd get them out of like the Russian steam bath or something like that, we'd use the 2 mittens and do, you know, front and back of trunk and the arms and the legs. Thank you. Okay, hot water coming up. And I'm not You don't have to be real exact about your 5 minutes. If it's 5 minutes and you're in the middle of doing something else, finish what you're doing and get it changed when you're ready. It's getting hot. When the feet start wiggling, you know that. Take a little bit of water out so we're not splashing so much at the end. Okay, and are we at our 5 minutes? Okay, all right. Okay, and like I said, I think that this 3 times switching is just the bare minimum. I don't think I would hardly ever do just 3, because I'm just really starting now to get him warmed up, and I want to maintain that for a little while and do a couple more after I get him warmed up. So, but for demonstration's sake, we will end with 3. Okay, so we're going to finish off with cold, and I'll just give this to you. We're all done with that. Other side. Okay, and then we want it dried. Okay, next I'm going to finish up the feet with cold. Okay, I'm going to move it towards the back. Okay, a little bit more. Okay. I'll put a towel there for him to put his feet on. And we don't always keep the bedding and stuff out of the water. Okay, so I'm going to use my bucket of ice water, but I'm not going to get rid of all of it because I still need to do cold to his back. If you wanted, you could also do cold to the entire arms and legs as well. I don't have him hot enough to do that yet. Okay, so he's going to go ahead and lift up his feet, toes pointed up. I want to get both tops and bottoms, and then he's going to go over onto the towel. Okay, bring it back to the middle. And there's ice in the bed. Okay, and then the only thing we have left is the back. I'm going to have you, can you just sit up and I can do it? Okay.
Maybe.
There you go. Okay. And he is quite pink on the back. Other side of the mitt. Okay, hang on a second. And again, we want to dry that. And if I had a steam pack underneath there, I would take that out as well. Okay, the thermophore there is already turned off down there. Okay. Okay? No, no, it's too disruptive and we let too much cold air in to change it. Okay? If you do have a steam pack underneath there, now the thermophore, he had the control, so he could turn it on and off when it got too hot. He just turned it off and then turned it back on when it cooled off enough. You need to be careful if you've got a steam pack underneath because you'll need more padding. When your body weight is on top of heat, you'll get more heat coming through, okay? So you need more padding on the bottom than you need on the top, because the body weight is pushing down and it makes more heat come through, so you just have to be careful not to burn, okay? All right. Let me get rid of the blanket first. Okay, and then your patient is going to want to get into dry clothes, get in a comfy place, and rest for 30 to 60 minutes, okay? And we've done this with our other treatments as well, where resting for 30 to 60 minutes is part of the treatment because that's when the body's doing its work, okay? Releasing those red blood cells and those white blood cells. Okay. All right. Thank you. He's always a good sport. I said, thank you. I said, you're always a good sport. All right. So I told you that we have had one time when one evening where we came home and everyone was getting sick. And everyone in the family got this treatment. So sickest child was on the table first. Mom and dad worked together, treated the first child, sent that one to bed. Child number 2 on the table. Mom and dad did child number 2. Sent child number 2 to bed. Okay? Then dad got on the table. Mom did dad. Dad went to bed. Okay? Then I'm left, right? So what do you do when you're the last one and there's no one left to do it to you? Okay? I developed this method at that point in time. Where I do it in the bathtub. Okay, so I take my a basin. I actually take a basin this size with ice water in it, and I put it beside the bathtub. Bathtub water as hot as I can tolerate, and I get in and think about it. If you're laying down in the bathtub with your knees bent up, you've got your feet in a hot foot bath, you've got heat on your chest, and you have heat on your back, right? Okay. So after 5 minutes, I sat up, got my mitt out of my basin of water, did any place that had been in the hot water, laid back down. You're right there. As soon as you need hot water added to your hot foot bath and your chest and your back, you just turn on the faucet, add more hot water. Okay? So doing it to myself, I was able to add the hot water. I was able to sit up and do my own cold, lay back down. Then at the end, after I had done my 5, 6, however many repetitions of hot, cold in the bathtub, I finished off, rubbing off every place that had heat with the cold, and then I stepped out of the tub into my basin of cold water, stepped out onto a towel, dried off, got dressed in dry clothes, and I went to bed. Okay? So you can do this treatment yourself in the bathtub. Again, you need to be careful that you don't have cardiac problems or the lymphedema or any of the others, because that's actually more heat than what you're getting in this kind of situation, because there's waters all pretty much around you. The only thing that's sticking out is, you know, the head and the knees. Oh yeah, and I had my washcloth there to put the heat on my head as well. I forgot to tell you that. So you'd also want to keep the cold on your head while you were in the bathtub for that treatment. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So we're on page 5 right now of your handout with the hydrotherapy self-treatments. Same precautions that we talked about for the fomentations when you're doing it to yourself. Number 1 there and number 2 we already talked about. So using your daily shower, self-treatment, you can end your shower every day with cold, just to give your immune system that little boost for the day. Okay? If you are ill or feel like you're coming down with something, then you can actually get in the shower and you can do a similar kind of treatment in the shower, just by running hot for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, cold for 30 seconds. Back to hot, 3 to 5, back to cold, and do that your 3 to 5 repetitions. Okay. Number 3 is what I described to you in the bathtub. Doing it to yourself in the bathtub with your basin of ice beside you for all of the cold that you need. All right, number 4 on your list is that you can sit on the edge of your tub or a chair outside the tub and you can give yourself a hot foot bath. Okay, either that or right in front of your kitchen sink where you can stand up in your hot foot bath and get more water. You have to, if you're going to do it to yourself, you just have to be someplace where you can add more hot water yourself to keep the foot bath warm enough. And so seated on the edge of the tub or a chair beside the edge of the tub or right next to the sink. Right. And then number 5 is the one that we talked about several nights ago as well, as far as drinking water. At the first signs of a cold, that scratchy throat, drinking your glass of hot water every 10 minutes for 1 hour. And then after that, every hour until the symptoms disappear or until it's bedtime, whichever comes first. Okay? So those are some ways that you can self-treat. I think it's a blessing to be able to do this for other people, especially family members. Families, we don't get enough hands-on ministering to each other anymore like we used to. And so this is a blessing, actually, when you can minister to someone else in your family by doing it. But I also wanted to give you some tools that if you don't have anybody to do it for you, that you can do some of these treatments yourself as well. Okay? Any questions on those? Yeah. A thermophore. Yes, you can get it online. They're not cheap. I'll show you the box, except this is the old box. And the reason why I have vintage box is because I didn't pay full price for mine. I still have, I love thrift stores. $3. So. The small one used to be about $100. Yeah, yep. I have a. What size do you have up there? That's this one. This is the. Looks like the bigger size. It's 13 by 27. Yeah, that's the bigger size, even more. Yep. So, yeah, I have a smaller one that I paid $6 for at a thrift store as well. So. I got one for a wedding gift from my great aunt who worked in Battle Creek at the factory. Okay. Yeah. 48 years ago. Yeah. They are really nice. They are really nice packs, if you can. But like I said, they are pricey. And if you don't have them, you've got towels at home. You can use towels. Steam packs work. Okay. So that's our fomentations, and we already went through the hydrotherapy self-treatments. So I want to talk a little bit. How many of you have heard of Hulda Crooks before? Anybody? Oh, let me introduce you to, I like to call her my friend. I've never met her personally. So Hulda Crooks, at the age of 66, started climbing Mount Whitney. Oh, yeah, now some people know, okay? So Mount Whitney is the highest peak in the lower 48 at 14,494 feet above sea level. And this is Hulda Crooks. She climbed Mount Whitney once per year for the next 25 years. Okay, so she started at 66. How old was she the last time she climbed? 91. Okay, so every year from age 66 to age 91, She actually made it to the summit 23 of those 25 attempts, 2 times. If you know anything about Mount Whitney, if a storm comes up, you don't continue climbing. And so 2 years she didn't make it to the summit because of weather issues. And she was affectionately called Grandma Whitney. Okay? Some people know her more by that name than they do Hulda Crooks. So in 1990, Congress honored her by naming a peak near Mount Whitney after her. It's called Crooks Peak. You see it right there? Okay, so this is the summit of Mount Whitney, and there is Crooks Peak. And here's a picture of me right in front of Crooks Peak. On the way up summiting Mount Whitney, I had to stop and take a picture of my friend, her peak. So that's Crooks Peak right there. So she was also she was the oldest woman, rather, to ascend Mount Fuji. She climbed 98 major peaks worldwide between the ages of 65 and 91. So it wasn't just Mount Whitney she was climbing. She was climbing 97 other large major peaks worldwide as well. She began backpacking at the age of 75. And she carried a 23-pound pack, so it wasn't just, somebody else was carrying her stuff. She was carrying a full-weight pack for her size. She hiked the 221-mile John Muir Trail, and that's kind of has a soft spot for me and my husband. 7 years ago, we hiked the John Muir Trail as well. That's when we summited Whitney at the end of that trail. So we know what she went through and are amazed that she did that. She held national records for women over 80 years old in the quarter and half marathon and the 10K runs. And she died in her sleep in 1997 at the age of 101. Okay? I say if you have to go, dying of old age at 101 in your sleep, not being sick is a pretty good way to go. Now, the interesting thing is that she only began exercising in her 60s. It's not that she was an athlete all of her life and continued. She started exercising in her 60s. She actually had been in poor health before that and regained her health by choosing an active lifestyle. So after we hiked the John Muir Trail and came down from Mount Whitney, we were in the town of Lone Pine, which is at the base of Mount Whitney. You can see right up here, there's Whitney Peak, and so Crooks Peak would be right next to it right there. So Crooks Peak, and there's Mount Whitney. So we attended this church in Lone Pine, and they actually had a celebration. I found materials in their church there. They had a celebration of her 100th birthday, and she had attended it here at this church that's down in the town at the base of Mount Whitney there. All right. So, and then we actually visited the city where she lived in Loma Linda, and they had Hulda Crooks Park there in honor of Hulda Crooks. And there's Hulda Crooks. That's a statue of Hulda Crooks in Crooks Park. So there's me. You can see she was not a big lady, okay? Kind of short, kind of like me, and just did some pretty amazing things. All right, so I tell you her story because we've got Hulda's health tips, and I gave you a copy of these. But knowing her story now, are you ready to listen to her? I think she probably has something to share with us about health and longevity, right? So these are Hulda's health tips, okay? Number 1, rich or poor, these are in her words. She wrote this. Rich or poor, wise or foolish, we are limited to one body per customer. No exchanges, trade-ins, or replacements. And only one lease on life is granted. The body's performance during that lease is largely dependent on the intelligent care we give it. Number 2, muscles that are not used atrophy. Bones not put under stress lose minerals and become weak. Joints not moved sufficiently, as in walking, working, or other forms of exercise, become stiff from disuse. She ought to know. Okay, number 3, no amount of exotic foods, costly elixirs, vitamins, minerals, or other supplements will save the body from deterioration if your way of life is at fault. This is exactly what we've been saying, right? The New Start principles are the primary on natural remedies. Number 4, the good book tells us to love God not only with all our strength, but with all our heart, mind, and soul. We need to count the happy moments of each day and be grateful for whatever good comes to us, be it seemingly ever so little. Okay? Hulda Crooks was a happy woman. Okay? She had purpose, she had meaning in life, and she found that to be part of what contributed to her longevity and her accomplishments. Number 5, there's too much depression, particularly among older people. Talk of things that give joy. Linger over each find with a thankful heart. This will grow into a most rewarding habit. People with a faith in God and hope for the future can go through anything. It's adversity that makes us grow strong. Number 6, Hulda's 6th health tip here. It's never too early, and it's also never too late to get started. Health is your prize for living in harmony with the laws established by your Creator. Okay, we talked about that anything that the Creator designed us to live by promotes health and well-being, and anytime we live contrary to His design, it creates stress on the body, which then damages us in some way. And her last one, I believe this is the last one, number 7, formula for a healthy lifestyle. Learn to enjoy good foods, simply prepared, whole grain breads and cereals, fresh fruit, vegetables, and legumes, eaten at regular meal times. Between meals, drink a quart or more of water each day. Get regular exercise. You don't have to climb mountains or run marathons, but nearly everyone can walk. In fact, recent studies rate walking ahead of nearly every other form of exercise. Phew, aren't you glad we don't have to go and climb Mount Whitney every year? Okay, she says do something. Okay, not everyone has to do what I did, but do something. Okay, we're designed to move, and we are more healthful when we move and when we live the way that we're designed. Okay, some words of wisdom from an amazing lady who lived a very full end of her life. Okay, some challenges in the first part of her life, but by the time she got to the end of her life, lived quite an amazing and fulfilling life. Oh, he wants to see. He was reminding me that that she was born in Saskatchewan, Canada, which is where I was born. Okay, so yeah. All right.
Got an online question. You already answered it, but I'll let you clarify it.
Okay, so we've got an online question. Okay.
You've already answered it, but you need to clarify. Does if you using fomentation packs on someone's back, do you have to change it out during the treatment?
Okay, so the question was same as Tracy's. If you are using steam packs, fomentation packs on the back during treatment, do you have to change them out? No, it actually cools them down more if you're changing them out. So no, you would just leave the same one on for the entire treatment on the back. So you're changing the ones on the front so that you get fresh and hot ones, but the one on the back, yeah, no, by the time you sit them up and take it out, you're cooling off the back every time. And you don't want to uncover that much, okay? So I think that was clear. I think that answered that question. All right. Any other questions before we finish up for tonight? Was that a question? That was just a hi? Yeah. Okay. All right. So you've got your surveys. Please fill those out. That helps us to plan future seminars, future events. We want to meet needs, so that blue half sheet, fill that out and turn that back in. You've got your handout with Hulda's health tips. You have your goldenrod sheet with the New Start summary on them. And there's some more of the little small handouts, little brochures in the back. I forgot to get them out for you on Monday night, so I think tonight you're getting Monday nights and tonight's, okay? So there's kind of a double pack going on there. So we need to go ahead and do some drawings and send some resources home with some people. Do we have some names to draw from? Okay, so we've got the 2 books that we've been giving away every night, 24 Realistic Ways to Improve Your Health and 10 choices for a full life. So let's go ahead and, you want to pick them out and give me one? Okay. Carl, one of our online people. Okay. And Tracy in the back there. Did you get either one of these on a previous night? You got this one. Okay. So we'll give this one to Tracy and send this one with Carl's family. I'm glad we have our people that are watching online as well. Okay, so then we've got a book by Dr. James Markham, The Heart of Health. He's an amazing cardiologist, and he's the one that has really, really introduced me to this concept that anything against our design creates stress and therefore health problems in the body. Really an amazing man. He actually, he does some videos online too. Just a very gentle, soft-spoken kind of guy. If I had a heart problem, I'd like to have a cardiologist like him. Okay, and that one's going to Gina online. So we'll get that one to Gina. And then our Health Power book. Okay, this is a really good reference one here. This one is going to Anna. All right. That is Dr. James Markham is the author. Yep. He's got quite a few different books out. This one actually, I don't know if this one's currently in print or not, but he's got some more recent books that he's written as well. And everything I've read by him is really good. He also did a fun series for children as well. It's really, really well done. Okay, so. All right, if we don't have any other questions, we're going to go ahead and close with prayer. I appreciate you all attending. I'm available if you have questions. My phone number is the one that's on the brochure. So if you need to get a hold of me, there's still some more brochures out there. Grab it. You'll have hang on to my phone number, and you can call me if you have questions. I may not be available right at the moment, but leave me a message or send me a text, and I will get back to you when I can and help answer your question. Okay? I want this to be, these things that we've taught you, to be helpful to you, and if you haven't found reason to apply them yet, when you're ready to do it, if you're all of a sudden, oh, I don't remember, give me a call. And I can either talk it through, or we can meet up and I can help you through a treatment session if we need to do that as well. Okay? It's fun to hear and see this stuff, but really the true benefit comes from you being able to apply it yourself in your own home. And I want to do whatever I can to help you be able to do that. Okay? All right, let's close with prayer. Heavenly Father, Lord, I am so grateful for those who have attended, both here in person and those online. And Lord, I just ask that you bless them with the information that they have learned. I pray that your good gifts will work in their lives and the lives of their family to be a blessing and to bring health and healing where needed, and to keep them from getting sick and injured as well. And Lord, so I pray that you just bless each one that has been listening and watching this seminar. And Lord, I pray that you'll take them home safely now. And Lord, I pray that they, because of what they have learned, can be a blessing to others around them as well. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you all. Turn in your surveys. Let us know how we can help you, and have a good evening.